All right, hello everybody. I'm Scott Vargo, I'm city manager here in Golden. Thanks everybody for coming. This is the third of our latest re-engagement around the Heart of Golden project. Tonight we're going to focus almost entirely on the Police and Municipal Building. We have a bunch of empty easels around the room. Those are full of boards, most of which are included within the presentation, but we didn't put them up because we figured if you saw them, you would look at them and then leave and not be here for the presentation. So we want to make sure that you were a bit more of a captive audience waiting for that stuff, bated breath. So with that, we're today again going to talk about this facility, some of the process that we've gone through to get to a design that we think fits within the character and the feel of Golden. And then we're going to ask you after we finish the presentation to wander around the room, ask staff, ask the design team from Handprint that are here, questions that you've got, share your feedback and your comments about what we've come up with to this point. So that's the plan. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom with Handprint, and he'll walk you through his presentation.
So we wanted to share what we've been doing the past few months. It's been about 3 months that we've been working with the city. And we've been working, the design team has been working on 3 parallel tracks. So we've been working pretty aggressively on defining sustainable strategies for the project. We've been looking at the site in a lot of detail and understanding the opportunities and constraints there. We've been looking at the program document that was provided to us and making sure that we understand the scope and the needs of the city as well as the city needs them. And that's all fed into, along with some input that you guys have provided through the course of the previous engagement activities, into a concept design proposal. So we started with sustainable design strategies and really looking at what is going to have the most benefit to the community, what the community has already adopted, what the Golden City Council has already adopted in terms of reducing energy waste and water use. And then that fed into some sustainable design drivers that are project specific. A lot of this is around being nature centered. That's come up as a theme in community engagement activities. Health for the users of the facility, health for the community. Decarbonization, which is primarily driven by electrification of the building. And then resilience. Not only is it need to be resilience because it's a police station as well as City Hall, but also flexibility for the future. Big moves start with passive strategies. We've really focused on that. Orientation, massing, a really great envelope. And then looking at equipment and technology that can support that, electrification, PV, water conservation strategies, those kinds of activities. The big thing was, the big move that we made is we set a really aggressive energy use intensity target. So this is the target of how much energy we're going to plan this building around. So currently, City Hall, as an example, their EUI, that's the acronym, is 140. We're projecting 23.7. And what that means is instead of $81,000 a year in energy costs, we will spend $46,000 a year. So that's a phenomenal savings, even though the building has increased a little bit to support the police department and to support some additional community space. For costs on this, we've been looking again at passive strategies, not equipment, not mechanical things, not technology. We've really been looking at how can we make the building operate in this environment as effectively as we can, and then support it with some additional technology like photovoltaic panels. So that really reduces, first of all, our first cost, the construction cost of all of this technology. And then, as I mentioned, right, there's a significant savings in operation costs. And then we're being really aggressive, especially the city's being really aggressive in looking at grant funding opportunities to support this as well. Excel has some grant programs, the state does, as well as some federal funding opportunities. Next, we looked at site and studied the opportunities and constraints there. I'm going to go through this very quickly. A lot of this was looking at the site and looking at it in context with the Heart of Golden Master Plan. So we really wanted to make sure that what we're doing with the site supports that master plan and the long-term future. So we looked at public access and circulation. We looked at existing vegetation and typologies, especially the riparian ecosystem that's along the creek, and that's really important to us. We've looked at recreation opportunities, how this can fit again into the master plan, how it ties to Vanover Park and future green space. We've looked at existing grading and drainage. It's a steeply sloped site, and so there's some opportunities there with the way that it's sloped and the way we can take advantage of that. We looked at context barriers and constraints. You know, Coors is not the most appealing visual, but right behind Coors, there's South Table Mesa, right? So how do we sort of take advantage of view corridors and really support that in the design? We looked at the solar angles. We looked at the windrows for natural ventilation, for daylighting. The most interesting thing that just totally kind of got us a little bit cattywampus right from the start was that north is not along the street grid. It's 35 degrees off. And so that was really an eye-opener for us. It's a little bit unexpected, even though downtown Denver is off north as well. And then finally, we're on the creek, right? So we know that we're going to have floodplain. And that's an important consideration given the fact that we've got what's considered an essential facility, so it can't be in the floodplain, can't be impacted by those issues. And what that's led us to is sort of a building footprint orientation that both honors the grid of Golden at 10th and Archer, but also really supports really great solar control, really great daylighting opportunities for natural ventilation. And then we looked at, as we were looking at the site, we were looking at natural landscapes, native landscapes to Golden, colors, materials, textures, plant materials, the ecosystems that are present in Golden and that will thrive on this site. And that led us to this site plan, which we shared last month. So for those who were here last month, you've seen this. The primary drivers for the site plan, we built really great connections for pedestrians from the creek path, right? So coming up from the south to the West Entry Plaza, from the urban context, coming down from 10th and Archer down to the West Plaza from across the street, coming down through what we're calling the North Connection into the East Entry Plaza. And we're really leveraging the slope of the site so that we've got parking that can be elevated and accessed off of 10th that then connects to the East Plaza. And then we've got secure parking underneath that's accessed off of Vasquez. Then the third track, how am I doing on time? Third track was program and really making sure that we understand the project scope. And so we started with design principles, pulling that from the program and from conversations with the folks in the city. So we set up design for the community, design for the environment, design for safety, security, and efficiency, and design for innovations as sort of the lens that we will look at this project from through as we continue to develop it. We spent some time, I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of numbers, but we spent a lot of time with numbers, looking at and making sure that we had all the parts and pieces correct, that they were current, and that they still matched the program and the budget requirements that we're being held to. We looked at workspace and what does workspace look like. We looked at private offices, we looked at workstations, we looked at meeting spaces, how we can help people connect, how we can use meeting spaces to connect with the community, how we can use casual meeting spaces in the building. And then we looked at sort of community spaces for collaboration, for engagement, for just opportunities for the occupants and the community to thrive as part of the users of this facility. And then we pulled all of that together in what we call the ideal diagram. So this is all of the spaces within the building, not individual spaces, it doesn't have all the offices, all the groups within the building. And really it sort of separates out into a private section, which is or a public section rather, which is all of the public facilities like courtroom and council chambers. And we've got a multi-purpose room that we've put in there. We've got some meeting space that's in the public section. And then there's private space, which is fundamentally, it's the city hall functions. And then secure space, which is the police department. And then all of that we dumped into that footprint that we shared before. And so this is how this is all sort of mapping into the footprint. So at the lower level, which is, again, it's a partial basement, it's sort of a walkout basement, we've got the secure police functions, we've got utilities and storage, things that don't need windows and light. And then as the building works its way out of the ground, because it says it's sloping down, then we've got patrol functions, we've got fitness functions, we've got the police workspace. And again, at this level, we've got our secure fleet parking for the police department, and we've got some assigned parking as well. On the street level, we've got all of the public functions. So this is really everything that you as the community will need to access on a regular basis. So we've got the lobby. Right off the lobby, we've got some meeting spaces. We're envisioning that the lobby can include some casual seating areas where you could meet with people one-on-one in a casual framework, but there's also meeting rooms. So if you needed to meet with a planner or something like that, you could meet right off the lobby. And then you've got courtroom and council right off the lobby, as well as the multi-purpose room for community events, for community use. And then we've also got the remainder of the police department, especially records, which is sort of the public-facing component of the police department. So that's all off the lobby. And then on the upper level, we've got the city hall functions. And again, we've got meeting space right off the lobby on that second level so that we can engage community really effectively, really efficiently. So I mentioned that we had been sharing this with the community along the way. So we have spent some time asking, what represents the context, the character of Golden, what's the architectural character of Golden, and a number of themes came through. And a lot of it is there's a scale to Golden. It's smaller scale. It's not big buildings. It's small, intricate, really lovely buildings, not big, grandiose architecture. It's walkable. It's got a lot of nature surrounding and integrated into the city. And all of those things are things that we want to maintain in the design of this project. And then another big theme that has come back through in all of this is that we really want to make sure that we're designing for the residents of Golden, right? There's a lot of tourism in Golden, and does not want to be the primary audience for this project. The residents are the primary audience for the project. So as we worked our way into developing an architecture for the building, we looked at a handful of other images to look at texture, entry, materials, color, scale, how we use brick. We sort of decided early on that we wanted to use brick, how we can use wood. We'd like to use wood in this project in a variety of different ways, and how all of that can impact the design. And so I've sort of developed these preliminary images. We're pretty early along in the process. This one, looking from 10th and Archer, shows that This is a 2-story building, right, which really fits in the scale of Golden. It's got a nice presence on the corner, so it's honoring sort of that and extending that urban context. As you work your way south along Archer, this is the main entry lobby with the building on the left. We've got sloped roofs that supports the PV, but also kind of creates that, sloped roof architecture that is contextually appropriate. And then we've marked the entries with this mass of brick and used wood here at the entry to sort of make that a special place. Continuing on further south, this is now looking back up from the creek. You can see sort of the two-tone character of the design, right, where we're using dark brick that really anchors the building into the ground and creates a base for the building. And again, the lobby with a nice brick mass that sort of marks entry and also is articulated with the wood to give it some nice character. Also the window patterns, which aren't finalized at this point, but sort of the character of that, right, which is punched windows. That's how the historic architecture in Golden is it's punched windows. It's not necessarily big expanses, but then marking some special locations like outside council chambers. So now we're continuing all the way across to Vasquez, looking as if we were flying a drone, across to the east entry and the parking deck. You can see how we've taken advantage of the sloping site, so that deck is actually at street level. It's not an elevated parking deck, and that makes it a really efficient and cost-effective parking level, and then secure access is below. You can see a lot of PV. We don't need all this PV. We're looking here at what the opportunities for where we can place PV. So we can place PV on the parking garage, we can place it on the sloped roofs. There's a lot of opportunities to capture the PV that we need to offset the energy that we're using. And then a great entry space off the east. So we've got sort of a morning plaza on the east, and we've got an afternoon plaza on the west. And then looking across from 10th, you can see the connection that we built from to cross the street that takes you right into the East Entry Plaza. Again, the punched windows, a little bit of a special articulation of windows at the stair that's in there. And that's the work that we have done in a very, very brief and abbreviated time frame. So what we're going to do is, first, I'm going to just thank you in advance for your participation and offering up your input as we put up the boards. But we're going to put up the boards in the back. Again, the content that you saw here is up on the boards. It's not all of it. But if you want to see all of it, go to Guiding Golden and you can get this presentation. All right, thank you so much. Thank you.